Hello, everyone. Hello, Nikori. Hello, William. Tobias. I still need to set up on my side. It's been a little bit of a chaotic day on my end, so let's have a look. I think, honestly, let's do it a little bit different this time. Just for this one time. I am just going to be using Epic Pen. Let me switch it over as well. Overpaint. Where's my camera? My camera's gone. Oh no. Why is my camera gone? Hello? Mr. Camera, please? Oh, there we go. You know what's going on there. Okay, so we're doing this a little bit different tonight. I am just going to be painting live in our community chat. That's what I'm going to be doing. We'll see how this works. Just because I'm literally done eating like a couple minutes ago. Back-to-back stuff here. Hi, Coffee Diction! Had some nice fries and a nice pork chop with some mushroom sauce on it. So enjoyed that. Did a little bit of cooking. I just underestimated like how late it already was, because I was still talking to people and then I still had a meeting and it was just like, yeah, chaos. Today I'm awake. Okay. Oh, you mean for the stream? So good to see you here. We'll be watching whilst doing some of my final project submission is next Friday. Oh, Jack. That's awesome. Good luck. What kind of a project is it? If you don't mind me asking. Okay. Let's see. Can I sort by recently active? Okay, it's already doing that. So we're gonna start with Florian over here. Some nice looking props. Working on a medieval marketplace. We're using some of the BE Team Challenge assets. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, let me see. Get properly situated. I think this actually worked quite nice with the chat as well. Hi, Andrea. Welcome back. All right, so first up, we got Florian over here. We don't really have any context, you know. It's a new environment. Actually making a block out and searching for the composition, right? So some interesting composition experiments. And then the material here as well. Yeah, really nice so far. I like the way that it transitions between the plaster and the brick, right? Like some really nice transitions that are happening. The textures themselves look really nice as well. Even though they're very muted in their color, right? I kind of like that style. So very, very interesting already. The blending also is quite nice. So yeah, good job. Good job on this so far. So since there is no real like request for feedback, right? I'm gonna make it a little bit shorter. Hello, board. Go. Right. I like where this is going. Honestly, I like this kind of composition as well. I think with this one, you kind of have to be careful, like where you want to lead the eye, right? Because everything is kind of vying for your attention, right? Like You have a lot of contrast to the darker areas, which is kind of forcing you to look here. But you also have it here. And then you have this massive building in the back that's kind of contrasting to, like, it's basically like a giant silhouette. So your eye is also going to be led there as well. I think you just have to be careful that you don't split the attention in your scene like too much. And if you want to keep the sort of lights, it would just be a matter of like dimming certain areas, right? So dimming these two and then maybe increasing this one so that you have the building in the back, which is like your secondary focal point, and then the one up front where you maybe have like a little bit more storytelling going on, right? Like maybe like an obscure figure that you can barely see, like in the alleyway, and there's like a little bit of storytelling happening there. Could be very interesting. You also have like the statue as well. With the statue, I know that this is a placeholder. You kind of have to watch out that the statue is not like just literally being overshadowed by like the giant thing in the background, right? So there's lots of ways that you can solve this, right? Like you can increase the fog so that the thing in the back becomes less apparent, right? Or what you could even do is potentially get rid of it and maybe just replace it with the statue, right? That the statue becomes this dominant thing, and then maybe move this building to the right a little bit more, so that you have the statue, which is probably going to be like very impressive to look at, right? Because it has like lots of detail anyway, so it's going to take like a lot of attention to itself. And then you don't have that giant pillar in the back. But it depends on what you want to do with the storytelling, right? So too many focal points. That's the thing you have to watch out for here. Because ideally what you want is probably just like one over here and then maybe like a secondary one over here, right? Those are like the main ones, and then you can use the other parts just to add some extra detail in the environment, but they shouldn't overshadow number 1 or number 2 in this case, right? So yeah. Sometimes yeah, simple is better, right? It doesn't have to always be like multiple focal points and like lots of depth and like all that kind of stuff going on. Like you can simplify this by just focusing on the statue instead. And I think a statue is going to be a natural focal point anyway, because they have lots of detail, right? Like it has lots of detail, and if it's going to be like a character statue especially, you're going to be drawn extra to it because as humans, we're drawn to other humans, right? And this also includes, or like human shapes, let's say faces and like human proportions. So if it's going to be a statue like that, then it's going to draw a lot of attention to itself already. Yeah. I like the shapes, you know? I like the shapes of the buildings. I like the architectural language that's going on. I think someone brought it up that it was very, very Dishonored-like. And I think that's actually nice. It's like a compliment, right? It's nice. Nice to bring that up. Hey, Aloya! I am doing good. Thank you so much. How are you? So yeah, that's with the composition, that's what I would keep in mind, right? Keeping it simple, keeping it clean, keeping it very visually balanced, right? That's what we're looking for in like a composition. Yeah, again, great shapes. I like where this is going, so I'm excited to see more of it in the future. This is awesome, Florian. Great stuff. Yeah, and then like the detail in the texturing style, really well done as well. So, gonna be awesome. Oh, we got a new mention here. More studio chat. Just gonna ignore that. Next up, we have Gonzalo? I'm not sure how to pronounce that, so sorry if I butchered it. Hi there! Hi Salon, how's it going? Let's go through this. I'm working on this post-apocalyptic grenade. Oh yeah, I've seen the thing here. Like I've seen this grenade before. Oh, hold up. Da, da, da. Yeah, at the moment the high poly is still in work in progress. Subject to change. Although I really like the concept idea, I feel like the and it will become extremely flat. There's a lot of stuff here, right? So I'm kind of just skipping through it. So the rebar metal pipes next to the can add a nice, interesting balance, making it look even more gruesome than it needs to be. Almost as if you could use it as like a melee weapon. Some aspects that I'm not really sure if I do like. The triggering element, which is a pin, right? So like this pin, that's the trigger. But I like the pin idea, it gives a nice composition and silhouette. I'm not sure about the element that goes off and falls out of the trigger. So yeah, so when you pull this pin out here, when you pull this pin out, like this thing just literally falls down. Yeah, I see what you mean. Like, it doesn't really serve a purpose, you know? But then, I'm honestly not too familiar with grenades to know what else is supposed to happen, right? So let's have a quick look, shall we? If anyone else knows in the chat, like, feel free to shout it out as well. Let's see. A World War I grenade. So we have these guys. Right, but those you twist at the bottom, I think. It's this guy. Yeah, because that's a pin. But then you can just click it together, right? And that's what gives it, that's what makes it charged, right? Is that the right word? But it kind of, I can see what you're saying though. Or maybe you pull it off, right? So like in this one, you can see the pin and you kind of pull it out and then like the handle can be detached from it. Right? So I guess that's what gives it the character. I can see it working in that way. It kind of has the same kind of thing going for it, right? I just don't know. It kind of needs to make sense mechanically, right? Or like, well, it doesn't really need to, right? Like people are pretty good at just imagining like how this works themselves. So I don't think, although in the beginning it looks kind of weird, I don't think it's actually bad to keep it, you know? Because let's do a quick comparison, right? Like if you have it without it, it would probably be even weirder than it is now, because then it's just like a pin in like nothing, right? It's just a little handle. So at least this mechanism where you can pull the pin out and then like pull the lever up, right? And that then like charges the spring load inside of it. That still has some mechanical sense compared to not having it. So yeah, having it there makes more sense than not having it. Right? So that's what I That's what I would say. Hi, Gav! Yeah, it is a really nice prop. Like, honestly, the way that it's looking already, looking really nice. I like the attention to detail, you know, especially with, like, the strapped duct tape all around it. It's looking really nice. Okay, so yeah, that's the first part, right? I don't really mind that so much. And the second part is also that I like that I don't have two sort of ropes in a row. Although I like the idea of the lines being thicker, more visible ropes. I think you're talking about this one here, right? These ropes. Those are the only ones where you have like two segments of them, right? I honestly don't mind. Like, I don't mind at all, you know? Like, maybe what you're saying is like you could make this one thicker, but like, I don't know. Like, I think it's almost like mechanical wiring around it, right? Like, or like electrical wiring. Like, it's very bootstrappy, kind of just like, oh, let's just get it in here, kind of thing. If you're thinking about maybe removing one of them, maybe the bottom one, right? That could maybe be like like a good one to potentially like remove. But I don't know. I'm just gonna say it. I don't mind it as much, honestly. Yeah, although I like the idea of breaking the lines with some thicker, more visible ropes. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, again, I don't mind too much actually. Right, and that's the same, right? Yeah, still has the two lines of ropes. Yeah, I don't mind. I think it looks nice. Sorry for taking no time in ZBrush. I had no time to actually make some quality screenshots. Hopefully this is good enough for a quick overview and some coverage in WIP Wednesday. Yeah. Yeah, honestly, it's going in like a really good direction, right? I think with some of this more loose stuff, like that becomes a question, right? Like how is this attached to itself? The same thing here. Like this feels like very random at the moment, right? It just feels like, oh, it's just like a little detail that's just on there to add like more shapes. And I think if it's in the concept, you have to make sure that you add some context to it, right? And like massage it into the prop itself. But like these little bolts are quite nice, you know? Even though technically they don't add that much, like it's just like a nice thing to add to the silhouette. Especially this one, because it's actually like pushing a bolt or like pushing a plate into the handle, right? Maybe if you really want to notice like all the details, like it could be nice to have this plate not being like fully attached to it, but actually having it, well, it would be something like this, right? Where it goes down where the rivet is and then it goes up again. Just to add a bit of variation in there, right? Instead of just having it like follow the same silhouette, you can actually do some cool stuff where like it comes up and then it comes down again. You know, just adding like a little touch to the silhouette again. Right? Because you're taking everything into account with such detail, right? Like all these kind of like little bits of edge damage, they all add a little bit of character to the to the scene, or like to the prop in this case, so that these sort of things are going to make it stand out as well. Eyes. Yeah. I really like it though. How should we call this? Right? Like more geometric detail, I guess. Or like more character in the actual geometry. A Jubilee clip would look interesting. I have no idea what that is, Gav. Let me look it up real quick. Oh, okay. Yeah. So one of these suckers to actually tie stuff together. That's actually a good idea. Like it kind of has that like very makeshift kind of look. It adds like a nice bit to the silhouette as well. Yeah, that's a cool idea. I like that. So like one could be a bolt and then maybe like a Jubilee clip around it. Would be nice. Or maybe if you're looking for a replacement for these ropes, right? Maybe that could be like a thing where you would put like the Jubilee clip. Right? Instead of like the little ropes. That could be cool. Yeah. It's a great idea, Gav. Love that. Let's have a look. What else can we find? I think the interesting thing, and also the tricky thing here, is making sure that all the stuff that is poking through, like a lot of the other pieces, actually looks like they're poking through the other pieces, right? Because that is honestly going to be the trickiest part here. Because what I mean by that is having like a little gash in like the metal, right? With this thing sticking through it. Doing the same here. Doing the same here. It's little details, but I think people are definitely going to notice. Right? And then maybe like a little tear in the fabric of the duct tape as well. I don't know what your plan there is, like if you were trying to do it in like Painter, or if you were, I don't know what your plan is there, but definitely worth paying attention to. I like the shape of the cans though. The cans look really nice. And the rebar on top of it as well. Really cool. Nice shapes! Then let's have a look. Let's see if there's anything else. This version here as well. Yeah, you got a lot of really in-depth screenshots, so thank you for that. This is awesome. Lots of detail to look at, you know? Oh wait, I think we missed this part, right? So aspects that I like, the rebar metal pipes next to the cans had a nice interesting balance, making it look even more gruesome than it needs to be. Almost if you could use it as like a melee weapon. The trigger pin and the heat shield gives us a nice bottom element that allows for more detail instead of a simple rusty shape. If you feel like it would help to not have anything there, allowing the acid to breathe. Oh, I think this little heat shield kind of thing there, right? I honestly don't think so. I think you could add more detail in there, right? I just add it in there. Like I think that could definitely be like really helpful. kind of what we discussed already, right? Making it as like a separate piece and then actually pulling it off and like actually embedding it into it could be really cool. Can add a lot of character in there. Yeah, I hope that helps, Juan Carlo. I think that's about it from my side, though. I think I love what you're doing, right? Like lots of attention to detail, like really good attention to detail as well. And yeah, just keep keep going for it, right? I need to leave, but I will watch through the feedback for my piece tomorrow. I left some questions in the post, so I hope it will be clear what I wanted to ask about. Oh, Bishla. Yeah, thanks for popping in. I think I don't know how much time you have. We can do your post next if you wanted to, but I'll just leave that up to you. Like I can talk about it too, and then you can catch up tomorrow as well. Don't want to rush you. Yeah, but thank you so much, Juan Carlo. This is awesome. Keep up the good work, man. This is amazing. If that's not a problem for the rest to hop in before them, it would be great. Yeah, we can do it. It's only Andrew that's before you. So we can definitely. Oh, Mishla, don't skip on a meeting. Like don't skip on the gathering. Just go and have fun. I mean, it's probably gonna take longer than I don't know, 15 minutes, right? Like if you wanna, it depends on what you wanna do. So I'll do it like this. I'll start with your post now, but feel free to leave during the thing as you want it. Okay, so participating in the Art Station Challenge. That's awesome. I'm really scared I won't make it on time, but I'm not giving up yet. I want to get feedback on the stuff I already did, the foliage and the background. Do you think I should work more on the foliage scattering? Or is it all right? For the background, I had some troubles creating the mountain. It's really low poly right now. I will for sure have a second pass on it, but I was wondering what techniques you could use to create. Okay, let's start there. So I am gonna keep it. Let's have a look at the concept, right? Let's start there. Okay. I see. So, with a challenge like this, I think you have to focus on the big stuff first. And what currently worries me is that this major piece of the scene is still a block out, right? So I would definitely start out there and do this first. Leave the foliage scattering, because the foliage scattering, you've already set that up, right? Like, yeah, it can be improved, but I think this is priority 1 compared to the foliage scattering. And the background terrain, I mean, you kind of have some wiggle room there, right? Because if you want to be really lazy about it, and I don't mean that in a bad way, you can just increase the fog density and hide that mountain more. Just cover it up with fog, right? So there's definitely some flexibility there and some really neat tricks that you can do. Yeah. If you want to... So that's what I would say, right? Like, focus on the big stuff first and make sure that that is in order before you start worrying about like the smaller things, especially the foliage scattering. So I would probably do that like last, you know? Like if you have time left, it looks decent, you know? Just keep moving on and like focus on the big stuff. I'm so scared of starting on the house. I wanted to have everything else done first. Yeah, I know. And that's why you have to do the house first. You see what I'm saying? Like, the thing that you're scared about the most is the thing that gives you the most insecurities and is the less reliable in terms of like time management, right? So let's say worst case scenario, right? You can't get the house in for whatever reason, then what does it matter that the rest is in, right? Because the main focal point is not in, so the scene is not done. See what I'm saying? So like the main focal point should be done first, because that's what the whole scene is leaning on. So yeah, yes, 100%. Cool. So now that we got that out of the way, because I mean, yeah, I know it's scary, right? Not gonna deny that. But yeah, let's talk about some actual techniques, right? And then dive into the rest of your post as well. So for the background specifically, for the mountains, what I would honestly do in your case is, let's see, what would be the quickest way, right? Because it needs to be quick and it needs to look good. Or like, it needs to look decent. It depends on what you're comfortable with. I'll give you a couple of options. Right, so option 1 is sculpting it in ZBrush. Or like just sculpting it, right? Sculpting it and then relying on the material in Unreal to do the texturing. So for that, you would probably, what is it? Like snow and rock, right? So you would need like a snow material and a rock material. And then you just blend them based on the angle of the terrain, right? Or like the angle of the mesh in this case. Well, I think it's a slope blend, actually. That's what it's called. Right, so that's going to take into account like the angle of a mesh. I think it should work on meshes as well. I'm just not sure. It's been a while since I used the node myself, and I've only used it on landscapes. But since it is in the material, I mean, it should work in there as well. Right. I think that's honestly the most straightforward option that we have here, right? It's probably going to be the quickest one because it's just sculpting and then relying on Unreal to take care of like the bigger stuff, right? What would be another option? You can definitely replace the sculpting with the height map. Right? So you could make that in Houdini, or you could make that in Substance Designer, then import the height map and then use that as like a landscape. The main benefit there is that you can then still adjust it in Unreal, right? Because you're using the height to displace the terrain, like the actual landscape. Whereas if you're using a sculpt and then just getting the raw mesh in, you can't then sculpt on top of it. Well, I guess you could with the modeling tools, but I don't know how feasible that is, right? So yeah, the outcome here would be like either mesh or landscape, right? What's most important to you and what you're most comfortable with. Purely time, I would probably go for mesh. If you want to have adjustability, like if you want to be able to adjust it in the engine, I would go for the landscape option and try to get a height map out of it. Right, so this is kind of cheating because this is like 2 versions in one. Yeah, but those are some of the techniques, right? Because you're always, I mean, you're comfortable with Houdini, right? So I know that there's like really cool ways that you can generate like landscapes within Houdini and then live link them inside of Unreal Engine, and then work with like splat maps to do like all the texturing, all that cool stuff, right? So that would probably be like option 3. The reason why I'm so hesitant to bring it up, Houdini and like splat maps and whatever you need, right? Splat maps basically are just like giant masks that will, I think it's vertex color based. Not sure. Well, it could be. Doesn't matter, but like they dictate which layer of your material is going to be, right? So just dictating where the rocks are going to be, where the grass is going to be, blah, blah, blah. The reason why I don't think that this is a viable way is just purely for time. Right? Whereas like the first route with sculpting, like you can just get something in like real quick. And then you've probably kind of set up like a shader for it already, right? Just slap that shader on it again. And don't worry about the polys and just make it nanite. You know? I'm literally trying to shave away like all the stuff that you would normally need to do to make rocks look good, just because you don't have the time to really make them good, and we're just focusing on the distance anyway, right? So yeah, I would definitely go with nanite to just save yourself some time and just keep it really high poly, like maybe decimate it a little bit, right? And then just get it into the engine, get it rendered out. Yeah, those are some of the techniques. The techniques that I would use specifically for the challenge, right? Because you want to get stuff done quick and decent looking. Let's have a look. I had some troubles creating the mountain. It's really low poly right now. I will sure have a second pass on it, but I was wondering what techniques you would use to create it. Yeah, that's the thing that I said, right? Like in your case, I would just sculpt it and not really worry about the texel or like the polygon count too much. Yeah, so I'm moving into the props creation, and soon I will start on the actual house. My first thought was to create a bunch of modular pieces and somehow put it together, just like I was doing so far in my previous pieces. On second thought, it's one big focal point. I'm not sure it would benefit that much from modularity. It's not like I need to make a bunch of these houses, so I was wondering if the traditional workflow with sculpting the whole thing wouldn't be better. Let me know what you think and how you would approach it. Oh, I see. For this, I would go tidables and trim sheets. Like that's probably like the quickest way to do it. Right? Like, the way that I see it is... Let's have a look. Trying to kind of break it down in my head, right? So, number one, we have stones. So that would be a tidable. Right? So number one is stones. Number two is the wood trims. Right? So a trim sheet that you would just use for like all the wooden elements, right? So basically, let's see, like the entire underside of it as well. Right? So that's all gonna be wood. And then you have like these individual pieces that are going to be wood as well. Like all these roof pieces, like all the support beams, that's all going to be wood too. Maybe let's do it differently. Let's give it a little bit of color, shall we? So number one is like the stone. That's like all this stone tidable stuff. Right? And then number three is going to be blue. Roof. That roof is also just going to be like a freaking tidable. We don't care about geometric detail from this distance. So just make it a tidable. And if you really wanted to, what you could do, again, nanite is perfect for this, right? If you make it a tidable... Oh my god, blue on blue is not going to be good here, huh? If you make that roof a tidable, we got the roof tile. Then in whatever program that you want to use, you can even do this inside of Unreal Engine using the modeling tools. Displace them, right? So just using the height map for your texture, just displace like all the tiles. Displace them and then potentially like reduce the amount, right? Like decimate it or whatever you need to do. That's what I would do. Number 3. Yeah, because I think you can get away with a titleable, especially from this distance. But if you then look at it and you're like, I'm missing some detail, like you already have the titleable applied to it anyway. So then going into the modeling tools and saying, oh, I just want to displace this titleable based on the UVs that I already have, that's like a one-click thing, right? And then you just make it a nanite mesh, and then it will run accordingly. So yeah, that's what I would do. So make the titleable, displace it in Unreal Engine, and then potentially decimate it, right? That's like optional. So that's the roof tile, and then what else do we need? Like, I guess these little cloth sections, right? Right? And that can be a titleable too. And then you can use that on this thing as well. Right, so that would be like the cloth titleable. And then you would make this whole structure out of the wooden trims. You can make these structures out of the wooden trims. Like, that's all the same kind of wood. Like, this is all the same kind of wood. You know, like, just high reusability. And then the only thing that you have to do once you have the trim is just model everything and unwrap it accordingly. Right, but like once you have the trim, like this is gonna be such a, well, it's still gonna take a little bit of time, but like all the stuff in your scene is largely just made out of trims, right? So like these structures as well, like all the stuff that you've already set up would all just be using the wooden trim. Right? That's how I would break it down. And then the majority of your time is literally going to be spent modeling. Right? Just making sure that the shapes are nice, that they're unwrapped nice, and then just slap like the trim onto it, or like the titleable. And that's the way you build up. And then the way you, if you want to add additional detail, right? For this piece, I don't think you're gonna need too much of it, but you could then, as like an optional thing, make like a variation of the stone, right? And then set up like a really quick vertex paint where you can just like paint out certain regions to like blend between the two. With the wood trim, you can actually, this is the technique that I use in my scene as well, where I have like a basic wood trim and then I layer 2 titleables on top of it based on vertex color. So and all I do in Unreal is just click bake vertex color, and like it's a super quick thing, and that gives me like masks that I basically use to drive like a dirt layer and like a moss layer. So you can use that too if you wanted to. So, but all the stuff that I'm saying now is like additional to the core, right? Which of your scenes do you mean? I'll show it off. Give you a quick example of it. Let's look at screenshots. Let's see, what's my latest? Let's see if I have a good one for this example. I honestly don't know which is a good one. Let's play around with some camera settings. Just having a look. Yeah, this is a good comparison. So the one on the left, that's the one that just has the base trim sheet. And the one on the right is actually the one that has like the layering and all the adjustments on top of it, right? And this is just purely done inside of Unreal. Like where I just use additional tilables, and based on like the ambient occlusion and the curvature of the actual asset, I then blend in like additional things. And especially for the stuff that you're doing that needs to look good from a distance, like you don't need the same fidelity that I'm going for, right? So you have like more leeway to do this kind of blending. You have it look decent from a distance as well. Yeah, I mean, even in the stuff that I'm making, right? Like if we look at it up close, stuff can look really decent. You know, you can see that here as well, right? Like on the table to the right here, and like all the shelves, like basically everything that's within my scene uses this shader, right? Or like the trim sheet and then the additional layering technique. So that's definitely something that you can use as well, especially in your scene, right? Because honestly, like the thing, the actual style and the actual building materials, like they're very close to the stuff that I'm building, right? Yeah, so very similar to the stuff that I'm doing. And like once you have the trim set up, like it just becomes like UVing it to like the certain sections and then just making cool models out of it, right? You're no longer restricted by, oh, I need to sculpt this or whatever. Like you can just do everything with that trim, like I'm doing. Yeah, that would be my recommendation here. Yeah. Hey Dots, hey the Real Shades. Can you recommend any resources on trim sheets, which are not sci-fi trim sheets nor stylized trim sheets? Yes, I can, because we've made one. So let me share you a breakdown that we did. We also have a couple of workshops that go over the same thing and how to use it as well. But I'll share first the deep dive here. So where's the chat? Right, so this is one of the breakdowns that we did, and then in the workshops area, you can also check out some of the workshops that we did on trim sheets too. There's I think there's 2 of them. So hope that helps. Yeah, and on ArtStation there's enough examples of trim sheets. The one that I've always liked is the medieval hut as well. I'm gonna see if I can quickly find it, but I'm not sure. Doo-doo-doo. Where was it? This is a good one. Where's the one that I'm looking for, though? I don't think I'm gonna find it. Not quickly enough, anyway. Nope. I'll just leave you with this one. Like you can see, like the entire kit. I don't know if they have like a breakdown of the texture, right? Like this is what the texture looked like. Very simple. But then if you actually look at what can be built with it, like it's very versatile, right? You can build like a whole bunch of stuff with it. Yep. But I'd recommend using that technique. You can find like good examples online for sure. So yeah, I hope that helped, Michelin. Very interesting challenge though. I think yeah, once you have the trim sheet set up, it should be way easier because I mean a lot of it really hinges on that wood here, right? And then making like two stone, like a stone tileable and then like a cloth tileable. And that's basically gonna get rid, well, apart from the modeling that you actually have to do, right? It's gonna get rid of like all the rest that you have to do for the scene, right? I think honestly, the modeling is probably gonna take the most of your time. The trim sheet should be like fairly quick to set up. There's also in that document that I've sent, there's also shared here, right? So that's the trim sheet layout that I'm using for my scene. And the way that I've kind of set it up, I've also added like a bunch of decals and all that stuff in it, which you don't have to do. Like you can keep it really simple with just like different sizes of wooden beams and different sizes of wooden ends, like end sections, right? And then you're good to go. But like, yeah, this goes into like all the planning and all the stuff that you need to do to like set them up and how to bake it and all that stuff. Yeah, there's a good tutorial by Polygon Academy as well. That goes over like the whole concept of like trim sheets, which is timeless. So I would check that one out too. Right. Good luck, Michelin. A lot of work, but I'm confident that you can do it. Right? I don't think this is too big of a challenge, honestly. I think you got it. Thank you so much. The feedback was amazing. It's way more clear what I should do now. Yeah, good luck. And thank you for putting up your work as well for WIP Wednesday. Appreciate it. See ya! I applaud going for the ArtStation challenge. I didn't vibe with any of the concepts enough. Yeah. Yeah, ArtStation challenges are always like really tough. Like very short timeline, you know? And these, yeah, so the left one is the model, and the right one is the concept. Excited to see the finals, Michelin? Yeah, me too. Awesome. Let's move over to the next one. Let's have a look. Thanks so much for the feedback. Blah, blah, blah. Terrible with updates. Layering techniques. I'm done with updating the barrel after learning how to use anchor points as stencils. Oh, look at that. Oh my god, that looks way better. The shape is a little bit blobby, right? Like the main geometry, but the actual texturing side of things like looks way better. Way better than this. That's awesome. That's an awesome improvement, Andrew. It's looking amazing compared to the previous one. Let's have a look at it in Engine. Nice. Oh, this is even like a straight up comparison. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this is so much better. Like so much cleaner, so much more readable. This is awesome, Andrew. Nice one. Really excited to move on to the next phase of this project and finish them off and then move to the next project. Lots to learn. Yes, yes. Feedback as normal? Yeah, I mean, if you're not going to work on the barrel, I don't think you need any more feedback, right? I think if there's one thing that I would say, like to keep in mind for your next thing, is think about where you put your rust, right? Because the rust here looks really awesome, but rust is usually the after effect from water damage on metal, right? So the reason why I say it so, like, it sounds so blatantly obvious, right? But water collects in crevices, right? So like all these little spaces where you have like little crevices coming together, that's usually where you would see more rust. Because rust is not going to collect here because water doesn't stay there, right? Like usually it goes, right, it stays here or it goes on to the next bit and then just collects here, right? I hope that makes sense. It can still happen that rust collects on these edges though, but then it's a different type of rust, right? Like it's not a different type of rust. Rust is going to be rust, you know? But it's going to be caused by damage and then moisture coming in, right? Like let's say you're bumping it into stuff. Like that's probably creating scratches, and then the moisture creeps into that, and that's where you get rust, right? But it's not because this is an outer lip that is automatically going to have rust, right? So you would probably think a bit more about like the placement of the rust in like logical places. But that's the only thing that I'm going to say about it. Apart from the jelly, that's probably the best, or like blobby geometry, right? The geometry is so organic that it doesn't even feel like it's like a heavy metal canister anymore, right? So you would usually have like a straight shape, but then maybe there's like an indent in like one of the sides or something like that, right? Instead of it just being like entirely just like super organic in terms of shape. But awesome improvements, gotta say. This is amazing to see. Great job. Yeah. So I'm not gonna give any more feedback on this. I'm just excited to see what the next thing is, right, Andrew? Sunny day! Hi! That Patreon subscription to join this community is looking very appealing right now with all the potential feedback. Yeah! You're welcome to join. Netraraj is saying also the rust color and detail in it looks way better than the previous one. Oh yeah, 100%. Like, this is like, if we compare the two, right? Let me bring them up, right? Well, Andrew actually did the work for us, right? So if we compare the two, like this looks like way better. Like this is a massive level up. I'm not underestimating it, right? Like this is really big. This is awesome to see. So great stuff. Great stuff. There's also more roughness variation, right? Like you can tell that this section is paint and that this section is rusted, right? Like you can tell just by looking at it. Where here, like everything is kind of falling in the same kind of roughness spectrum, and it's kind of very weird to look at, you know, because you don't really know what you're looking at. But this is awesome. Love it. Love it, Andrew. Great job. So yeah, no feedback. I'm just curious what you're gonna be building next. I mean, in this scene, of course. Hello. Oh no, my keyboard disconnected. Help. Okay, whatever. You want me to click away? I'll do that. Yes, okay. Last one here. Netraraj, let's have a look. I did some work on the composition and lighting, as mentioned in previous WIP feedback. I wanted some feedback on the lighting and mood. I want to have a color combination of blue and evening golden light. Any suggestions? You want to have a combination of blue and evening golden light. Okay. Honestly, just love how this is coming together, you know? One thing that you might need to be careful of, is skybox. Like the skybox looks a little bit pixelated. I know that that's not a part of your feedback. Maybe that's still work in progress, but that's the first thing that really struck me. So watch out for that. But the rest of the scene looks great, man. Like I love all the clutter that you added in the soil as well. Like all the little bits that are just scattered. It gives like a very lived in feel, you know? And like all the changes that you've done to like what we discussed before looks really awesome. Great work. What can we do about your feedback though? That's the question, right? I honestly don't think it's too far off, right? Like I feel that the glow that's coming onto the building is actually quite nicely has like a quite nice color already. My gut feeling says that maybe you can play around with like the saturation of that light, right? Like how orange it actually is. But as nitpicky, I think it's actually quite nicely balanced. But I think it's also more like how much you want to drive that point home, right? Oh, you're saying right now I feel the red / evening light is too dominant. Oh, I don't think so. I don't feel so. I think it has a nice balance between the two. Because I think what's gonna happen, right? Like if you're gonna push the saturation of the light down, then it's gonna push it more towards the blue spectrum, but the rest of the scene has like very cold colors already, right? So I kind of like that it's like a little bit up there in terms of saturation as well. But honestly, look, I can say that all I want. What really matters is what you feel about your art, right? If you feel that it's too dominant for you, then yeah, feel free to turn it or like tweak it however you please, right? Andrea is saying, I think the lighting is stunning. It looks like a late afternoon sun. Yeah, 100%. I feel the 100% the same way. Like it has that nice balance, you know? Like the sun is going down. It's not that low that like it's very low down, but it has like a nice balance just with the environment surrounding it. I like what you've done with it. Yeah. Yeah, I don't mind. Like I'm trying to look at it longer and like really take it in, but there's nothing really that I mind. Yeah. Yeah, it's about to get suddenly cooler. I like that. I like that. Because that's almost like it's an indication of like not impending doom, right? But like a change. Like it's almost like, oh, it's gonna be night, so we gotta watch out for whatever's gonna come at us again, right? Whatever that may be. Because I did use that, like I think we talked about this, like in one of my previous scenes, I used like the sun rising to indicate a hope, you know? And I kind of feel that this is kind of doing the opposite. Like it kind of has like that very subtle sprinkling of like, uh-oh, what's coming? Yeah. Very nice job though. Let me bring it up on the big screen. Oh. My drawing tablet is freaking spazzing out. It does feel quite apocalyptic. Yeah. I originally planned the lighting to give some post-apocalyptic vibe, but I lack in this lighting part. No, I don't. I don't think so. Like what? I'm trying to think. Like, how would you make something feel post-apocalyptic with lighting? Right? I guess the best example that I can give is that usually if you want to make something feel post-apocalyptic, you would make it like very desaturated in colors, right? So that the colors themselves are almost like mimicking the life being drained out of the world or something like that, right? Like a fancy metaphor for it. And you kind of give this like very depressing mood. But I think the opposite can also be kind of cool, right? Where you infuse something that would naturally be very desaturated and very devoid of color. If you infuse that with a little bit of color, then you're kind of like what's the word for it? I just had it on the tip of my tongue. Like you're basically going against the thing that people think you're gonna do, right? Like opposing the expectation of, or subversing the whatever 10 euro word is that comes after it. Subversing the expectations, I think. That's where I was going. Oh god. But yeah. I honestly think that this is quite nice though. Like in terms of balance, like in terms of color correction, I like it. Tree line feels a bit more organic as well. I like that. Fog would most likely be in the morning, but I'm not sure if this is a dusk or dawn. It can be both, in my opinion. Yeah, I think the fog is quite apparent from like sunrise, right? Because that's when the moisture is still like left in the plants and the sun is basically evaporating it. So I think without the fog, you're basically indicating that it's like a sundawn. Or like a like a dawning of the day. So I like it. Yeah, I'm honestly just taking it in, you know, because I think you did a really good job on it. You're saying Netrage, I see less life in the scene makes it more post-apocalyptic like. Yeah, that's usually how they do it, right? Like if you look at The Last of Us, for example, right? It doesn't really have to do with the post-apocalypse, but like in the beginning of it, like the whole game is more desaturated, so there's less color. And the more you progress and the more your bond strengthens with I think her name is Ellie, right? More your bond strengthens and the closer you get, and yeah, the more your humanity starts rising up. Like the more vibrant the game becomes over time. Very interesting stuff. The same is used in movies as well, where it's been a while since I've seen it, but I think it's Children of Men, which is like a thing that people bring up as like a really good example of it. In the beginning, it's like very the colors are like very drawn out of it, right? But over time, you see more and more coming into it again. So yeah, you could definitely use that to your advantage. I think you could kind of see it as both things, right? Even though I said that it might, yeah, maybe it's still the same thing, you know? Like, because before we said that it almost feels like, uh-oh, something's coming, right? But with the sun hitting the building now, it might also be like, hey, this is still like a beacon of hope for whatever's gonna come, right? Yeah. I honestly don't mind it. Like, when it comes to the lighting, look, I'm gonna be honest about it too, right? I'm not a lighting artist. So I think it would be nice if you know a lighting artist, right? We have a couple of them in the Discord as well. Maybe I'll do a shout out to a couple of those people. Check out Netraj's work on the Discord. Maybe they can give like better examples of what you can do, but I like it. I know, not really helpful, right? But hey, can't all be winners, or like can't all be in the need of feedback, right? That's probably a better way of saying it. Did that help at all? If there's anything else that you want to discuss, feel free to bring it up as well. I would love to discuss it. You know? Can I go out of this again, please? Oh, there we go. Oh. No, it's really helpful? Oh, that's good. That is good. Thanks a lot for the feedback so far. No worries. No worries. And I think that's already it. Unless... older posts? Isn't it sometimes a good thing to give very little feedback? Yeah, I think so, right? Like, I know that people want feedback when they present their stuff for the stream, but it doesn't always need to be like chock full of information or like feedback, right? Sometimes the work is just good. Sometimes you just like something, you know? And that's definitely what happened here, so love it. Okay, I think that was it actually for this WIP Wednesday. So let me switch it on over. It's quite early. Is there someone in the chat who would love to have feedback? Because I wanna see if I can sort something out, like on the fly. Don't know if it's gonna work or not. Let me do this. Wow. My camera's so unfocused. Oh my god. Let me catch up here. William is saying, I'm making a post-apocalyptic environment and it helps me a lot. Thanks, Tim. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I've been replaying Fallout, so I'm heavy into the post-apocalyptic stuff right now, so I love it. Coffee Diction, I have a few screenshots for renderings if you don't mind. Yeah, where are they? Because I think you tagged me, but then I think you untagged it and I kind of lost track of it. Is that just in your little thread on the work in progress channel? You add them in there. No. Give me a sec. Okay, cool. I'm gonna grab a little bit of water as well, so I'll be right back. All my whips are too whippy. A whip is never whippy enough to be whipped. Something like that. It depends, right? I think a work is never too whip to be critiqued. But it's more up to you, right? I'm fine with very early stuff. A whip is never too whip to be whipped. This is an Easter egg. I don't think anyone has ever noticed, and I honestly don't think you can see it on YouTube. But in the work in progress Wednesday events, like on our Discord, like in the thumbnail, there is like whip, like little icon that I added in there on like 5% opacity or something like that. Barely visible. And I think only a couple of people know about it, but hey, secret's out now. It's up. Let's have a look. I'll blend the background out instead of deleting. Okay. Let's have a look, shall we? Okay. interesting screenshot here. The thing... Let's talk about the composition a bit first, right? Like you have this divide like straight in the middle. I think it would be more interesting if you like slightly angle the camera so that we're seeing more of the wall, that it doesn't become this like that it doesn't become like what is it, like just it almost feels like a straight line through the middle of your composition, which makes it like feel like really awkward. Right? That would be like one thing to avoid. Plus, I think also you gotta be aware of what you're trying to show, right? And like a lot of this stuff, it's not of interest. Right? It doesn't mean that your complete frame needs to be filled with like, oh, this is what I want people to see. But I think having it half, it might be a bit too much. I think what actually might be an interesting composition is if I do like a little frame, right? And then we're kind of thinking. Right? If you want the focus to be on like the vending machine. Maybe something like that could be better. Maybe like even a bit more zoomed out, you know? And not from the top down like I drew it, but just like at the same angle, but just from a distance, and then with that one corner just leading away from the camera. I think that might be like a more interesting shot. Right? It would be, let's try that again, because I think that was not a good one. I'm trying to think, right? What if I mean, it's better to do it in 3D, right? Because my sketches look fadable. Let's say it like that, right? I'm just trying to quickly experiment. Like maybe you could have the door frame on the left of the frame and then have the vending machine on the right. Right? Maybe that could be like a cool thing. Or maybe you cut out the door so that it still becomes like a blank wall with the AC and then maybe like some cool little decals or something like that. Like you can go like very artistic with this stuff as well, right? And kind of still capture the essence of what you were trying to do here, where you have like a really unbalanced composition because the left side of the composition is almost completely blank, right? And then have like the interesting prop on the right. That could actually be like an interesting thing to go for. I think you just want to find a way where the left of the frame is not necessarily, still has something there, right? But in terms of the contrast between the two, like between the two areas, like this is way more interesting than the left side, right? So you could have like almost a blank wall, and then the edge of your composition, like that's where like the little fridge is, right? And then that would be like your whole composition, like with the rule of thirds, right? You put that fridge right smack in on that point. Could be interesting. Yeah, honestly, like this is overcomplicating it, right? Like just rotating the camera and just moving it slightly back could be very interesting. Just that definitely like the visual imbalance definitely has something going for it. So that's why I was kind of going back to that idea. Just to clarify it a little bit further as well. Okay. Perhaps some tire tracks could spice up the left side. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea, Sonny. Just anything that can well, basically anything you have lying around that can spice that up. Right? Like you probably have some stuff lying around. Like you can make specific compositions for that camera shot. That's a great idea. Let me see. There's a question in the channel as well. Oh, and some chatter too. I just finished a project for school, so I'm deciding what to do next. I'm going to try and catch up the main material substance designer prompt. Oh, that's awesome. Good luck. Dark Chemist has a question. When making a 3D environmental scene, to apply for a position at a studio, should I make all the assets in the scene? No. Nope. Just make the most important ones. And then the rest of them you can just fill up. Right? Because like making a whole scene with like a lot of detail in it takes a lot of time. Coffee Diction is also saying in referral to what we're looking at here. True, it's the second time that I tried. I have enough space, can add this pretty fast. Thank you. Nice. Yeah, let's have a look at this shot then. Oh, wait. Hold up. One thing that I forgot to mention here. Chromatic aberration, right? Or however you write that, because I suck at writing, which everyone knows that watches the stream. You gotta be really careful with that, because stuff like this becomes to look like, turns out to be like really noisy. It might also be because these are like quick renders as well, right? So I don't know if that's the thing. But yeah, you gotta watch out for that chromatic aberration, because it looks so weird once it's like overdone. Like I would keep it like really simple. Because the way that it works, and this is from William Foucher that talked about it, is that usually you get that in high locations of contrast, right? So he brings up the example in his chat about it, where he's talking about like how to set up Unreal to look very cinematic. That's actually a thing to check out, like a video to check out. In that video, he looks at like a picture he took, and he's looking at the ridge of a mountain in the distance, right? And that's where you can see chromatic aberration, because the contrast between the mountain itself and then the light that's shining onto the mountain like makes it very apparent, right? And that's where you get like localized chromatic aberration. But the way that Unreal does it, it just applies it to the whole scene, right? It doesn't have like any context of the scene itself. Yep, just to keep that in mind. Then let's go back to this one. I see what you're doing here. It's very apparent. I think if you want to do something like this, you gotta really massage it into the world, right? What I mean by that is that this kind of looks like a generic camera overlay. But what I actually want to see is if you're gonna make it, because this is like almost like it's a restaurant that doesn't get many customers, right? So if you're gonna do a camera like this, I want to see that the quality is pretty shit. You know? And I kind of want to see it like it would almost be like an actual camera on site instead of just like this blue haze or like this purple haze on top of it, right? Letters and timestamps, yeah, potentially. I would just look at like what real camera footage looks like, right? If you really want to do this, I think honestly, I wouldn't do it for this scene. It doesn't really add any sort of value, right? Like it could be interesting if you're doing a sort of setup like a heist, right? Like, oh, they're gonna rob this building or something like that, and then you have like security footage, right? I don't think anything like that's gonna happen here. So to me, it kind of feels like unnecessary on top of it. Like it would be cool if you want to render this corner out, but then without the camera effects on it. Yep. So that's what I would say about it. So normal wide lens, yeah. Yeah. So this stuff confuses me still because I keep jumbling it up in my head. When we're talking about render settings, if you wanna do something with a character like up and close and personal, like a field of view of 35, or for an environment, pick something like 85 or something like that. But honestly, yeah, that's up to you. Yeah, cool. Let's have a look at the other ones. Got this one. It's I like this shot. I mean, the only thing that I don't really like about this is that it's just flat upon flat, right? Like we're dealing with a lot of horizontal lines. It's an interesting one, right? Because I would say to avoid it, but I also kind of cheekily like the magazines that you get, or the, what's a better example? Like photography books, right? Where they take pictures of buildings and they're usually like head on, right? This almost feels like that to me. What I would do here, if you want to improve it, is eye height. Have the camera at high eye height, because that creates this relationship between us and the person that's currently the lens, right? The lens that we're looking through. A cool technique used in one of my favorite movies, Pacific Rim. They do that throughout the whole movie, and it grounds like the person in the action as like a human rather than like a flying non-connected thing that's in the air. So yeah, a lot of found footage movies do this really well, right? That's why we feel so connected with them. So yeah, that would be the first thing. So moving the camera a little bit down. Also try experimenting with having it at like a little angle again, right? Like little angle on the camera. Just because the camera is on eye level, crazy, I'll definitely apply it. There's actually like an interesting, well, it's not a case study, but it's like a thing that I noticed, and a thing that is very apparent, and people will bring this up as well, is if you look at Pacific Rim 1 and then look at Pacific Rim 2, I mean, it's not only the camera itself, right? But you can definitely feel, if you just focus on the camera itself, that you're not as connected to whatever's going on just because the camera just flows around in the air. And in the first one, they were really specific about that. Like, we're gonna have you like close to, like, if you look at some of the shots in that movie, like they're all on like the top of skyscrapers, right? Where you're standing on the roof, or you're standing on the floor, or you're standing next to a car or something like that, right? And it adds believability and scale to the whole thing. I mean, it's less apparent here, but it can definitely help. So yeah. Little angle offset. That would definitely help here. Yeah, and then I think that's it, right? I don't think you need to do too much more. Just have it like at a slight angle, eye height. Make sure, I think the aspect ratio is kind of good already. Like we got the cinematic ratio going on. Yeah. It's good. If you wanna cheat, you know, add the cinematic black bars underneath it. You could even do something cool with the cinematic bars and almost like you could add like a little frame. Like I'll pretend that these are some black bars, right? You could almost do something like that, right? Like, oh, it's partially obscured by the chat. But like you could do something where you just add like a personal note, right? Of the person that did a road trip or something like that, right? And they visited this diner. Might be an interesting thing. Fox, hey, sorry for not being here when you reviewed my grenade. Oh, no worries. This is going to be a video afterwards. So, no worries. Yeah, I think you can do some cool stuff here. Just making it a little bit more, right? And trying to tell a little bit more of a story again. Could be an idea. You don't have to, right? You don't have to. Like it's not that it's going to make it worse, but I will go back and check what you said. Thank you so much, my man. No worries. No worries. Happy to help. And thank you for putting your work up as well. Appreciate that. No, keyboard, please. Please. Let's go. Oh, you got the whole cinematic, like, action camera going on with this one, huh? You gotta definitely watch out in this one with like the background being completely blown out, right? It's almost like I'm almost playing Fallout, you know? Like I'm almost playing Fallout with like a nuke that dropped in the background and it just like completely blurred everything and like flashbanged everything out. Yeah. Keep exploring. Keep having fun with it too. I do like a shot like this though. Like if you make that like wider, could be an interesting one as well. I mean, I'll let you play around with it. I'll let you play around with it. Thanks, man. No worries. Just missing the nuke. Yeah, exactly. That could be an animation. You know? Just get like a model of like a nuke somewhere. There's probably gonna be like a ton of stuff online, you know? And then just have it animated going into the floor and then just completely like post-process, like bloom and like blur everything out. I thought of a plane going off in the background with noise. Yeah, actually a nuke in the background makes sense. No, don't get... We're not leaning into the nuke idea. No, please. Like the Fallout kind of scene. Yeah, I mean... I'm not gonna say anything. I'll just leave that up to Coffee Diction. Whatever he wants to do with the scene, we'll see. I'm kind of curious where this is gonna go next. It's not hard, but I think I struggle with the noise then. Yeah, yeah, don't do it. You know, like, just get this thing out, right? Like, present it like you're doing right now. Pick a couple of really nice screenshots. Do a couple of bits of post-processing. Oh, important thing here. I don't know if you've ever used it, but color LUTs. So, well, I think it's yeah, it is color lookup table, right? So like color LUTs. It basically allows you to take a texture, add that texture on top of your screenshots, do a bunch of post-processing in Photoshop, and then you bring that texture back into, like, with all the adjustments that you did with Photoshop on top of it, you bring that texture back into Unreal, and it's gonna mimic the adjustments that you did inside of Photoshop. Very handy tool. Very handy. Because controls in Unreal Engine when it comes to color correction and post-processing might be a bit overwhelming. So I would probably just do it like that. Yeah, I think creating your own is probably the best. Because usually sometimes it's just tweaking the contrast, tweaking the saturation a little bit, and then you're good, right? All right, awesome. Thanks for putting your work up here, Coffee Diction. Appreciate that. And I think it's already it for this time. Camera focus. Let's end on that nice question. Sunny Day, quick question. Are there any resources for Substance Designer on Beyond Extent? Wanted to dive into that. Yep, there are. We did a couple of cool workshops on those too. If you head on over to the website, we actually have like a complete section on workshops. Or, well, you don't even need to go to the website. Just there's a playlist on YouTube as well. But if you want to have a nice overview, you know, you can just go here. Did that work? No, don't go there. Damn it. Fat fingered it. Okay, take that one instead. Ignore the other one. Yeah, so we actually did, how many did we do on Substance? So the one with Derek Elshoff was really great. Like, I took a lot out of that workshop myself. And I think that's the only one that we kind of did it. Yeah. Oh, no, actually the one with Antoine is up as well, even though the website doesn't say it is. Like, that's actually a one that came out recently, which is also definitely worth a watch. I think the one with Antoine. So let me show this off real quick, right? Where are we? Overpaint screen. Let's go. So this one with Antoine is really interesting. And then we got this one down here with Derek Alsov is also super interesting. I took like a lot away from this little workshop over here. Definitely recommend that one. Thank you so much for the question, Sunny Day. Oh, no. Not that one. This one. The panic. Okay. Thanks all for being here. I'm gonna be moving out here because it's been busy and I can use a little bit of a break. So it's been awesome to have you all here. Oh yeah, second favorite. You gotta check out that biome one. That biome one is freaking amazing. Like, honestly, I learned so much from it. But yeah, I'm gonna be going out. I'm gonna take a little bit of a break, chill out for a little bit, and yeah, again, thank you all so much for being here. Thanks everyone for asking for feedback. I appreciate it a lot, and I wish you all a nice evening. Have a great evening, everyone. Bye bye. Night, y'all. Night, Andrea.